Ladies and gentlemen, we are live!
Welcome everyone to MMA Weekly with Austin and Chef Dan. I am Austin, it's my co-host Chef Dan. I'm excited to be back here, break down what happened this past weekend, and preview this big, important pay-per-view at Madison Square Garden this Saturday. How you doing tonight, Chef Dan?
I'm a little tired from work, I'm not going to lie, but nonetheless, I'm here to get the show started, man. How about you?
I'm doing well. Good day. Like I said, looking forward to talk this Saturday with this big pay-per-view, and also we had some good fights this past Saturday, and I can't wait to talk about it with everyone here. So thank you guys for watching, listening to us. Whether you're watching us on YouTube, listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Reason FM, Spreaker, etc. Appreciate love, support, and well, let's talk about what happened this past Saturday. Let's get right into it. Let me just get ready. And this past Saturday was the main event in the strawweight division between Madison Lemos and Marina Rodriguez, two top 10 strawweights. And this fight ends via third round. Madison Lemos gets the TKO victory, over Marina Rodriguez in the third round. And this fight was, a lot of people didn't agree with the stoppage. A lot of people felt like it was stopped too early. I personally think it was stopped too early myself. The reason why is because, Lemos hurt her, but she only landed like those two shots, and then in the following exchanges, Lemos didn't really connect anything. I watched the end of that fight twice recently, today, and Rodriguez was covering herself, and she turned around to face Lemos to see what Lemos was going to do. And Jason Herzog, who I think is the best ref MMA, stopped it a little prematurely for me, and I did not agree with the stoppage at all. Now, people say, well, it looked like Rodriguez was done. Yeah, but you don't know that. Like I said, Rodriguez was covering a lot of those shots, and a lot of them weren't falling through. And Lemos, she could have gassed herself out, and potentially the dynamic of the fight could have changed. That's what, considering Rodriguez does have 5-round experience, where Lemos doesn't have a lot of experience going to the 4th or 5th round. So I did not agree with the stoppage, considering this fight was a title eliminator potentially. Don't get me wrong, Lemos did do well in the second round. She won that. It was one, considering she did got the back of Rodriguez in the second round. Almost got a rear naked choke on her, but Rodriguez was able to fight the position. But this was, Lemos had a good performance though. I don't want to take anything away too much from her, but at the same time, I didn't agree with the stoppage. That's just me. I don't know if you agree with me or disagree with me, Chef Dan.
I agree with you to a certain extent, but at the same time, I could see where the referee's viewpoint was as far as stopping the fight. Because even though Marina was covered up, the punches were going through the guard, and she was eating a lot of damage without kind of responding back. And at the same time, I believe the referee does give you enough warnings to, at least respond back through the damage. And she didn't really respond back while standing there and taking those shots. So as much as I can agree with you there, I see the ref's point of view and stop the fight where he did.
I guess, I don't recall Herzog giving her a warning, but I can see what you mean there. But either way, it's a big victory for Lemos, considering Lemos is ranked number 3 now. Do you think Lemos is did enough to fight the winner of Weili and Carla next?
I wouldn't say that, no, because this really wasn't. At the end of the day, this victory is marred in controversy. But at the same time, you never really know how the division shakes out. If there's no choice and it has to move on with her, then fine. But if there's another opponent that could, possibly step in and she has to prove herself one more time, I'm not opposed to that.
Right, and I agree. I think personally, she should fight Rose Namajunas next. I think if she beats Rose Namajunas, it will make sense for Lemos to get the title fight against the winner of Carla and Weili. I definitely agree with you there. But yeah, despite the controversial finish of this fight, it was entertaining. It was an entertaining fight. This whole card, I guess, was entertaining. As we could transition from the main event to the co-main event, which was in the welterweight division between Neil Magny and Daniel Rodriguez. As Neil Magny wins via third round Darce choke, 3 minutes and 30 seconds, and it was 1-1 going to round 3. Rodriguez, if I remember, Magny won the first round. Rodriguez won the second round because Rodriguez landed the better shots and was the better striker of the two. Neil Magny was winning because of the clinch game, because he kept getting in clinch positions and doing some damage to Rodriguez. But Rodriguez was avoiding the clinch in the second round, hurting Magny, split punches and things like that. And the third round, it looked like both guys were slowing down beginning toward the end of the second round. And I don't know why Rodriguez did what he did. For the minutes into the third round, he had top position of Magny. And it looked like if he just kept top position, do some strikes, pound, he probably could have won that round. But he, for some odd reason, decided to just stand up. Just get on top, get off of Magny, just let him get up. I don't know why he did that. That was a mistake. Even watching it live, I was like, why are you doing that? And it came back to bite him because Magny was able to get a hold of him, take him down, just work him to the point where Magny was able to get that Darce choke, and then Rodriguez had no choice but to tap. Considering Rodriguez was somewhat slowing down a little bit in this fight, and that decision to stand up, for whatever reason, was a giant mistake for Rodriguez, and it cost him this fight. As Magny gets an impressive submission victory, as he gets one of the 4 performance bonuses of the night, and he also has the most wins in UFC welterweight history, passing Georges St. Pierre. And I gotta give Magny credit also for saying that, listen, I'm not in St. Pierre's, I'm not exactly in the same category as him, which I agree with. It's a great record to have, most wins in welterweight division. But obviously his wins are different from St. Pierre. Magny's been a good fighter for a long time. So give credit to Magny, for pulling through the submission victory against Daniel Rodriguez. And this was a good fight. And what are your thoughts on this fight, Chef Dan?
I'm in complete agreement. This was a good fight. It was, as much as it was Daniel Rodriguez making a crucial mistake, it was Neil Magny being a veteran that he is and capitalizing on that mistake. And even though he doesn't want to put himself in the class of St. Pierre, what I can say is that him having the record does mean something at the end of the day, because it's a longevity record, and as a fighter, to have a longevity record is, it speaks volumes to the class of athlete that you are and the dedication you put, outside of the ring in order to get in the ring and be the athlete that you are. So kudos and congratulations to Neil Magny.
Yep, definitely, and kudos to Magny. And interesting who he fights next. I was going to be another ranked guy. I just don't know who right now, because obviously Wonder Boy and Holland are fighting in December. I was maybe the loser, maybe the winner of that fight potentially. That's just me throwing out there. I have no idea. But either way, Magny's definitely going to get ranked opponent next. We'll just see who he fights next. And part of me would like to see the Leech fight Magny. Well, I think they already fought. No, they fought already. Never mind, they already fought. But anyway, well, it was interesting to see what Magny does, and also shout to Magny being from Brooklyn, give him some love, that New York City love, being from Brooklyn, New York, and we can transition from that fight to the next fight in the card, which was between Derek Manner and Shelian. I'm gonna have a hard time pronouncing this guy's last name. Shelian Nurdembeki. His name's hard to pronounce. As Shelian wins via TKO strikes in the first round. This was a weird fight because basically Manner threw like a body kick, and like basically threw like 2 body kicks, and his knee just got, I don't know, something happened to his knee where it just buckled. Like I guess he had injury going in, and then he just gets hit with a flying knee, and that was all she wrote, and that was basically the beginning of the end of the fight. As this was a good performance for Shelian, but at the same time, it looked like the body kicks just affected Derek Manner, and there's also a weird investigation going on with this fight because the betting odds changed like right before, like to the point where people are investigating whether or not some foul play was involved as well. This was, very, who knows what's going to happen there. I mean, it's very interesting. What were your thoughts on this fight, Dan?
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to pay attention to this fight, the first 3 fights on the card, because I was calling the Knicks game that night. So I can't really get into the details on this fight or the other 2 fights.
Yeah, I mean, it was weird because apparently, like, all of a sudden the betting odds went against Derek Manner's favor, like right before to the suspicious amount, to the point where the UFC and I think the commissioner are investigating that. So it'd be interesting to see what happens there. But this was kind of weird fight. I will admit that. But we'll see what happens. I'll transition from there to the flyweight division between Tagir Ulanbekov against Nate Maness. Tagir wins this fight easily. This was an easy fight for him. He just got control of Nate Maness and was able to just do well. He was a better grappler, and he was able to use his wrestling to set up the guillotine choke against Nate Maness. Because at one point it looked like Nate Maness was getting up, but he was getting up. He left his neck open, and Tagir just pulled on that guillotine, like a high guillotine too, and just choked in the point where Nate had a tap. And impressive victory for Tagir. Surprised he did not get performance bonus. He should have, considering he had a first round submission. And Tagir also by the way, it was a great performance for Tagir. He gave credit to Umar because Umar Nurmagomedov, his teammate, did fight Nate Maness several months ago, and he just said just follow his blueprint to beat him. And also Nate Maness, don't ever go down 125 again. You don't have to belong to 125. You are too big for that weight class. That dude looked like a skeleton. Like he looked bad. Like I was gonna say like a very edgy joke, but I won't. But he did not belong to 125. I mean, my gosh, he looked like a skeleton. Jeez. Stay at 135 or at least, or maybe go up 145 potentially, but 135 for sure. Because 125 is not your weight class, man. Bad enough you're going that awful weight cut, and then you gotta fight Tagir. Oof. But good victory for Tagir. I mean, he's ranked, I believe, in number 15, so he's definitely gonna fight a ranked opponent next, whoever that may be. I mean, interesting to see if he can be another guy from Khabib's camp to go for a title push in the weight class. We shall see. Good victory for him. As we can transition from that fight to the first fight on the main card between Grant Dawson and Mark O. Madsen. As Grant Dawson wins via submission, rear naked choke in the 3rd round. Grant Dawson out-grappled Mark Madsen. Like, he won the grappling exchanges. Like, Mark Madsen had no answer for Grant Dawson. And just tired Mark Dawson out. And, like, Mark Dawson had, like, basically no answer for him. And he got more and more tired as the fight kept going. Dawson was able to pull on that rear naked choke and submit him. I mean, this was an impressive victory considering Mark Madsen was undefeated, 12-0, and Mark's first loss. And Mark Madsen came from a wrestling background. He was a silver medalist in the Olympics in Greco-Roman wrestling, although people argue freestyle wrestling is the better wrestling to have in mixed martial arts. But still, wrestling in the Olympics is impressive, especially if you're a silver medalist. But still, great victory for Grant Dawson. wins this fight. I think he's on like an 8-fight win streak, something like that. Like I know he's got at least a big win streak in the UFC. Grant Dawson, he's ranked number 14, so this is another guy to look out for in the lightweight divisions. Keep getting deeper. Now you got a grappler. It seems like the younger lightweights are grapplers now. From Islam being champion to Sarukian, Gamrot, Dawson. I'm forgetting someone else. Daimir, I forget his last name, and even Oliveira. I know he's not young, but Oliveira is still a grappler. Where a lot historically lightweight was always had strikers. Recently, like Gaethje, Poirier, Chandler. I know he's a wrestler, Chandler, but he uses a lot of strike. He's not as like a guy's gonna take you down, just ground and pound you like that. Guys like that, Barboza, Cowboy for a while, RDA. But now he's seeing this division become a grappling division now. Interesting to see what happens next several years as more and more grapplers start coming in this weight class and dominating. But this was a great victory for Grant Dawson. I mean, this main card was good. I liked it. The fights were entertaining, and the night didn't go too long. The only thing that sucked was the commercials between fights. When the fight ended early, and then they had these long-ass commercials where it took forever before the next fight came up. I know they can't go too quick, but damn, those commercials were too long. Jeez. But either way, I mean, I'm just nitpicking, but entertainment in the main card. And did you watch it in the prelims, Dan, or no?
I was able to catch some of the prelims before the game started, particularly the Miranda Maverick versus Shayna Young matchup. That one I liked very much, though. Miranda Maverick was very dominant. That was a great fight for her.
Definitely a great fight, and watching that fight, definitely it shows Miranda Maverick is, we all knew she was the real deal, but she proved it here just to remind people who we forgot. She's now on a 2-fight win streak after losing her previous 2 fights. Although it should be a 1 fight. She should really be like only have 1 loss in her record, because that Macy Barber fight was a terrible decision went against her. But either way, great victory for Miranda Maverick, and there's a reason why we're high on her. And this makes me realize just how good Erin Blanchfield is, considering he out-grappled Miranda Maverick and just dominated her in wrestling and grappling. It lets me know that, I mean, we're going to talk about the pay-per-view later on, obviously, but it lets me know that Molly McCann's chances of winning are not great at all. Watching this fight for Molly and Erin Blanchfield. Well, yeah, great victory for Miranda Maverick. Also, one fight I do want to mention is Paulina Viana winning via GU Fry in the first round TKO, 47 seconds. Very quick victory for her. It's not often you see women's fights end that quickly, under a minute. And Polyana was able to do it, and she got a performance bonus. So shout out to her. That was an impressive victory for her. So definitely want to give her a shout out. Is there any other prelim fights you want to shout out?
No. Other than that and Polyana Viana fight, that was a very impressive knockout. Nothing else. Yeah.
Right. Also, some other performance bonuses. Mario Batista got one for his submission victory against Benito Lopez by armbar. It was first round. I didn't see that fight, unfortunately, but I heard it was I know people were talking about how good it was, that armbar. Also in this fight, Jake Hadley got a good triangle choke victory over Carlos Candero in the second round. Also, in the first fight, Tamara Vida defeated Romeo Pascal via knees in the first round in 3 minutes in the first round. And that fight, I did see like the finish where she hit her with a impressive knee to the body, and that was like Ramona can continue from that impressive knee to the body. And that's why she got the performance bonus as well. So I definitely want to give her a shout out as well. Opening the card, and it was that fight that basically began the great fights we got and the great finishes we got in this card. Entertaining card. Good. This was very good. If you're there at the Apex, you definitely had a good time. And yeah, this was a great fight and great card. I liked it. And hopefully this upcoming Saturday's card could definitely live up to it, which I think it will. But speaking of Saturday, let's transition from this past Saturday to this upcoming Saturday. The big pay-per-view live from the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden, New York, New York. Also on November 12th. And I bring up the date because November 12th, 1993, the UFC had its first show. This is the 29th anniversary show for the UFC. So this is a big deal. I hope they talk about that. They need to talk about that because that's a big deal. Considering this sport was illegal in most parts of the country, and see where it not that long ago, and see where it is now. They need to mention that because it's impressive that they're still here 29 years later, one more year away from 30th anniversary. So I do want to mention that. And from Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena, UFC 281, headlined by Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira. These two guys have history. If you've been paying attention, they fought twice in kickboxing. Alex Pereira won both times. The first fight was a decision, albeit controversial. Should have gone to Israel. And the second fight, well, he knocked Israel out in the third round with that left hook that I'm pretty sure most of you have seen. That left hook that knocked out Israel. And Pereira comes to this fight on a 6-fight win streak in his MMA career. He got in the UFC a year ago at the last Madison Square Garden card in the prelims, and I remember he knocked out Andreas. I forget how to say his last name. I forget his opponent's last name. I know his first name is Andreas. Starts with an M. He knocked him out with a flying knee in the I believe the early second round or late in the first round, and there he went on to defeat Bruno Silva, and then he knocked out Sean Strickland, which was the biggest fight of his career. He knocked him out within like 2 minutes, like over 2 minutes. And now he's getting a title fight against Israel Adesanya, guy's history with. And Israel, we all know about Israel, the middleweight champ, going for a 6th title defense, not 7th. I don't know why people keep saying 7th. It's 6th title defense. If you look it up, the interim belt does not count, nor should it. It's a 6th title defense, and this fight, a lot of buzz. I think this is more buzz for an Israel fight with this upcoming fight in a while, probably since the Paulo Costa fight. I mean, do you agree? Do you agree with me there?
Yeah, most definitely. This opponent, just based on the history and based on what Israel Adesanya's been able to put on tape as far as the UFC, this guy shows to have the closest shot. So this is the most buzz. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm excited for this fight. I mean, I don't think this is gonna be boring because some people have criticized Israel's recent performances for not being the most entertaining, and I think his recent performance haven't been as entertaining as like when he first got in the UFC. Was put on great performances, whether it be against Derek Brunson and Brad Tavares or even the first Whitaker fight. But this fight is going to be entertaining. I can't wait because I think Alex Pereira is going to bring to Israel, and I don't think Israel is going to be able to just lay kick a guy and jab and fight outside. I think there's going to be a lot of action, and I don't think there's going to be a lot of grappling. I know people talk about people think Israel's going to try to grapple with Alex Pereira, draw him off. Although that would be a smart idea, I just don't see it. I don't think Israel. I haven't seen Israel do offensive grappling in any of his fights. I've yet to see it. I yet to see him have success with it either. Neither have you, Dan. I don't think anyone has seen it.
No.
So it's going to be a kickboxing fight, and so I think it's really going to be entertaining. And that's why, in my opinion, I'm going with the upset. I think Alex Pereira does beat Israel Adesanya and is your middleweight champion because of the fact that it's a kickboxing fight. I know Israel's got the MMA experience, but the thing is, I think the fact that it's such a kickboxing fight and Alex Pereira went on to become a great kickboxer, because people forget when he fought Israel twice, that was early in Alex Pereira's kickboxing career. Israel had already been established kickboxer at that point. And Alex Pereira, after the second Israel fight, went on to become a Glory kickboxing champion in 2 weight classes. Now, for those of you who don't know, Glory Kickboxing is the top kickboxing organization in the world. They went on to go out there and basically be a 2-time 2-weight class kickboxing champion, and also fought in Glory Kickboxing a little over a year ago, so not that long ago. So the kickboxing skills are definitely more fresh than Israel Adesanya. And in a kickboxing fight, I just think Pereira is the better kickboxer of the two. I think he's going to find Israel Adesanya somewhere in maybe like the second or third round, because I don't see a first round knockout. I honestly don't. I think Israel's going to play it safe. I think there's going to be a feeling out process with both of them, and eventually they're going to but later in the first round or maybe in the second round, you're really going to see a lot of action. I think he will catch Israel with the left hook and probably knock him out, especially considering if you knock Israel out with the kickboxing gloves, which are like 16 ounces, imagine what he can do with 4-ounce gloves. And we already saw it with Alex Pereira. We can do with 4-ounce gloves, and that's the reason why I think Alex Pereira will beat Israel Adesanya, because it'll be a kickboxing fight. I think he's a better kickboxer than Israel Adesanya, and I think he will catch Israel Adesanya, despite the fact that he's not had a lot of MMA fights. That's just me. I don't know if you agree or disagree with me, Chef Dan.
Nah, I see your reason for that. I would have no choice but to agree with you. Everything you said, I'd echo the same sentiments. The only way that Israel wins is that if he shows something different, or if he's very, very technically sound, and the fight devolves into that type of style of fight where he can, pick and pop and choose and things of that nature. But other than that, yeah, I'm just echoing everything you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm pretty sure Israel's worked on some aspect of his grappling, but is it possibly he pulls off grappling and does have success? Yeah, but like I said, I need to see it before I start saying he's going to do that. I don't personally believe that. That's why I'm really leaning towards Alex Pereira, unless Israel catches Alex early, which I don't know I'm not sure if he will. Considering Israel's more of a counter fighter, but I'm excited for this fight. This is going to be entertaining. I can't wait. The New York crowd's going to get a great show, a great main event, in my opinion. Well, they're going to get a great show anyway. They will, because there's one fight in particular, which we're going to talk about. It's going to be entertaining. But we can transition from the main event to the co-main event, which is in the strawweight division between Carla Esparza, the champion, defender of belt, against Weili Zhang, as Weili's come off the impressive KO finish against Yonggun Jacek in the rematch back in June in Singapore, that spinning back fist, and Carla Esparza is coming off that victory. Let's just be honest, that fight sucked with Carla and Rose, the rematch. She won the belt, but it was not a great fight. She just barely did enough to beat Rose in that fight. And Carla, I think I would not be surprised if Weili's the favorite. She probably is the favorite, and I think she should be, because Weili's looked impressive. I know Weili's lost to Rose twice. In the first fight, she got knocked out, but in the second fight was close. It wasn't like Rose destroyed her in the second fight. It was competitive. And Weili, ever since training with Henry Cejudo, has improved her grappling dramatically. She's definitely used more offensive grappling. Her grappling defense was solid. Even that Rose fight, she had decent, very good wrestling plus grappling defense. And one thing about Weili is that she's a strong woman. I mean, Dan, I know I sent you the video of her picking up Francis Ngannou, which is ridiculous considering Weili fights at 115. That's Francis Ngannou, the heavyweight champ, 265. Probably weighs more. I mean, he's not, weight cutting. Let's just be honest. The fact she's able to pick him up and she's improved her wrestling, I think her wrestling is enough to neutralize Carla Esparza, who's mostly a grappler. She likes to take girls down and use her wrestling instead of offense. I think the strength of Weili and her wrestling improvement, / grappling improvements, going to cancel Carla's weapon, which is wrestling, and it's going to force her to be a striker. And Weili's the much better striker, the more powerful puncher, and I think she will knock out Carla Esparza. I can see a first round or second round KO, considering the power and the fact that in the striking matchup, eventually Carla's going to get caught. And I think it's going to be early. I don't think it's going to be a late round knockout. That's just my opinion. What are your thoughts, Chef Dan?
I just have Weili winning this fight. I think she's just too much for Carla Esparza. That's what I'll say. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I think she's too much. I think Weili's getting that belt back. I'll be shocked if Carla wins. That would shock the crap out of me. I just don't see it. Weili's too good right now. Too good. And stronger, better striker, more powerful puncher, and her wrestling improvement's going to cancel Carla Esparza. I think that would be a good fight. Well, in my opinion, will be the fight of the night is the third fight, Michael Chandler and Dustin Poirier. This is going to be an entertaining-ass fight. Michael Chandler always puts on entertaining fights. So is Dustin Poirier. These are two of the most entertaining guys in all of MMA. And I'm happy they're fighting each other. And there's also some bad blood between the two of them. And I think that bad blood can add to the excitement and possibly to the fight, considering both guys don't really want to lose to each other and really want to hurt each other. And I think this is going to be a decision. I don't see a finish. I think this is going to be a decision, a back and forth fight. And I think Poirier will win because I think Poirier is just the better striker. He tends to, he's better at his boxing and kickboxing, and he's also better at using angles and getting out, not getting hit as much as Michael Chandler, who at times does get hit. That's always been a weakness of Chandler. He lets himself get hit too much. And also Poirier's very good boxing. For every time Chandler does a shot, Poirier probably do a 1-2 and get out the way. And also I think Poirier uses kicks a lot more. Now, can Michael Chandler use wrestling? Yes, he can, but I just don't see Chandler doing that against Poirier. I just don't see it. Now, if Chandler did, I think it changed the dynamic of the fight, and it would be smart for him to go for a takedown early on, just to get Dustin thinking about the takedown, probably put his guard down to make it easier for Chandler to land a big shot at Poirier. But I just don't think Chandler's going to do that. I think Chandler's going to go out there and try to strike with Poirier, play an entertaining fight, try to hurt him, knock him out, and I think I'm going to play Dustin's advantage, and Dustin's going to capitalize and beat up Chandler, because people forget, before he knocked out Ferguson won that first round because he was landing a lot of good shots on Michael Chandler when they fought back in May. Because of, and I think everything I said leads me to believe Dustin Poirier is going to get the victory against Michael Chandler. What are your thoughts?
I think this is going to be a close fight decision, but I have Michael Chandler winning this one. I like his style for Dustin Poirier. I think him darting in and out will be very good, and Michael Chandler is a lot more powerful than a lot of people think, and he tends to show it, and I think his power surprises a lot of his opponents.
It does, but part of me thinks Dustin might be able to get out of the way of most of those shots. And personally, now if Dustin doesn't, he might get caught and maybe hurt badly. Now we know Dustin's got a good chin, despite getting knocked out by Michael Johnson, but that was like years ago, and Michael Johnson does hit hard. I mean, Poirier has taken a lot of abuse though, so maybe eventually that chin is going to go out, and maybe Michael Chandler might be the guy to knock him out. So, you do bring a good point. Now you mentioned the power of Chandler, but I'm leaning towards Poirier. But like I said, I could be dead wrong. You might be right about this. By the way, this is going to be exciting. This should be the fight of the night. I'll be surprised if it's not. Like, really surprised. I can't wait. MSG's getting another great light Michael Chandler fight. I mean, Michael Chandler last year against Gaethje put on the fight a year. MSG. So, people at Madison Square Garden are getting another great fight, Michael Chandler. I think this is definitely going to be one of the best fights of the year. Or at least of the night, probably the year. I'm going to put that on the record. I will. But, anything else you want to say before we move on?
No.
Okay, we transition to the bantamweight division in the fourth fight, second fight on the card, between Frankie Edgar and Chris Gutierrez. Now, this fight is a big deal to me, and I think it needs to be stressed more because this is Frankie Edgar's retirement fight. Frankie Edgar's retiring after this fight, and this is a guy who is one of my all-time favorite fighters, and is a first ballot, no doubt, Hall of Famer in the sport of mixed martial arts in the UFC. This guy was the lightweight champion, defended the belt multiple times, put on some great fights, went down 45, had great success, fought for the title twice, had success at bantamweights, and this is the end of a legendary career of Frankie Edgar, finding his not his hometown, but he's from Toms Rivers, New Jersey, and it's not far from New York City, so it's in his home area, backyard. And this is for me. I'm hoping Frankie wins. As a Frankie Edgar fan, I want him to win because I don't want when guys retire, they always retire on their back or face down. It's rare to get a George St. Pierre retirement where they go out on top or with victory. And I hope this is the case, considering they're fighting at the Garden where St. Pierre had his last fights. We beat Michael Bisping for the middleweight title. Now, Chris Gutierrez is a good fighter. He's 30 years old. He's 10 years younger than Frank Edgar. Usually the guy who's 10 years younger or more tends to win a lot of the fights. I forget the stat, but I know the stat's been out there that they do very well when they're young, a lot younger than their opponent. The younger fighter does. However, one thing about Gutierrez is that Gutierrez, although is good, I think Frankie has a chance because Gutierrez does not have a lot of power in his punches, and it seems the thing that's to give Frankie Edgar problems is guys who have power in their shots, especially recently. Although for a while, Frank Edgar used to have one of the best chins in all of MMA, but recently that chin's gone away, especially when he fought guys like Korean Zombie, the Corey Sandhagen, and Chito Vera last year. He's been knocked out, unfortunately, 3 of his last 4 or 5 fights. And one thing about Chris Gutierrez is that he doesn't have that. I know his last fight is a knockout TKO victory, but that was from a spinning back fist, which if you land it correctly, you can knock out a lot of guys with that. That doesn't mean you have power. And Gutierrez does not have that, although Gutierrez is on a 3-fight win streak and really a winner of 6 of his last 7 fights. He did have a draw against Cody Duran. And to me, I think Frankie Edgar, if he uses his wrestling and is able to do well against, if he's able to use his wrestling and avoid getting hit and it will dictate the fight, I think he can beat Chris Gutierrez and go out on top. I think this is of all the younger guys, this probably was a better matchup for him than him fighting like Andre Younes or someone like that. I mean, I'm leaning towards Frankie Edgar, 55-45. Now, maybe it's just me being a Frankie Edgar fan, but I do think this is a good matchup for him. If Cody Durman can give him Chris Gutierrez problems, I think Frankie Edgar can, considering Frankie Edgar is, I think, a little bit higher caliber wrestler than Cody is, and I think he'll probably win the decision using his wrestling. People forget he was winning that fight against Chito Vera before Chito caught him with that front kick. And he uses wrestling in that fight.
Okay.
Yeah, just
if it's a retiring fighter's last fight, you know me, I never really put any expectations on a fight like this. Never really looking for a winner or a loser in this fight. I'm just gonna enjoy the fight.
Yeah. I mean, I'll try and enjoy the fight. I want him to win. Regardless of what happens, I probably should do a retrospective on Frankie Edgar's career and just talk about his career and my favorite fights and some of the best, one of my opinions, some of the best moments of Frankie Edgar's career, because he's had a lot of great fights and a lot of great moments. And yeah, this year a lot of the legends been retiring, man. Edgar now, yeah, Aldo retired, Luke Rockhold. And I'm trying, who else? Jonah Jacek. I mean, legends are retiring this year, man. It's crazy. It just shows, man, the sport, our favorites have to retire. That's what this is. And I can't wait for this fight. Hopefully he goes on top. As we can transition from that fight to the first fight on the card, which is a lightweight fight between Dan Hooker and Claudio Puelles. As Dan Hooker is trying to bounce back from that TKO loss to Arnold Allen back in March in London, we went down 145. He's going back in lightweight. First of all, I just want to say thank goodness he's going back to lightweight, because I don't know why he went down featherweight. That was a giant mistake, and I truly think it truly showed against Arnold Allen, where he got finished so quickly. If Dan Hooker's a big guy, I don't know why he'd go down 145, but near here or there. Going against Claudio Puelles, a guy who's coming off back-to-back knee bar submission victories in his last 2 fights. A guy's got 3 knee bar submissions in UFC. He's on a 5-fight win streak, Claudio Puelles. I think Dan Hooker will win because Claudio Puelles does not offer a lot in the stand-up. And I think Dan Hooker is the clearly better striker of the two. I know Claudio's going to try to take Hooker down, but Hooker has decent grappling. It's decent. I mean, Al Quinta, who's a good wrestler and jiu-jitsu guy, had a hard time keeping down Hooker and really dominating the grappling exchanges. Hooker reversed a lot of those positions and did well against Al Quinta back in 2019. And I think Claudio Puelles is going to need a lot more than just straight up grappling in order to get Dan Hooker. He's going to need at least good striking, good power, which Puelles has not shown yet in any of his fights. And I think Dan Hooker will keep this fight standing and be able to beat up Claudio. I think it's going to be a bounce-back victory for the Hangman, Dan Hooker, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on this fight?
I'm really just looking for a bounce-back win for Dan Hooker. He needs one. I'm looking for a standout performance from Dan Hooker.
You think it's a finish?
I'm looking for it, but you can never really guarantee a finish, because the opponent on the other side is really, really tough. For you to make it to the UFC, you gotta be tough.
Yeah, definitely. And Hooker will win. I think if he does finish, it'll probably be a later round stoppage, probably like late second, third round. Well, I could see a decision like 30-27, Dan Hooker. Like he did against Nasser Hazrat last year. Anyway, we can transition from there to, well, I just want to talk the prelims real quick because these are the prelims here are pretty good. I mean, you got Dominic Reyes against Ryan Spann. I mean, when they're on the prelims, you know it's a good card. Personally, I think this is a chance for Dominic Reyes to bounce back. I know Ryan Spann's come out of victory over Ian Cutelaba. One thing about Ryan Spann at times can be a little chinny with his chin. And I think Dominic Reyes does have a decent enough power to really go out there and hurt Ryan Spann, maybe finish him. But the problem is Reyes is coming off that long layoff. Although it was the right decision to take a layoff considering what Yuri did to him back from last May. But still, I don't know how he's gonna look considering he's lost 3 in a row. Well, 2 in a row because he beat John Jones. I'm gonna keep saying that every chance I get. He beat John Jones in my opinion, but it's an unfortunate loss. And Jan Blachowicz destroyed him, and then Yuri Prochazka knocked him out badly. So you do wonder how the confidence of Reyes is going to be going into this fight with Ryan Spann. I do wonder that, but I think Reyes should be Ryan Spann, in my opinion, if his confidence is there and he is the old Dominic Reyes. That's just me. I don't know how much you want to talk about this fight. I'm Dan.
No, just looking forward to seeing Dominic Reyes back in the octagon.
Right. And also in the prelims, Molly McCann versus Aaron Blanchfield. And I got Aaron Blanchfield. Molly McCann usually tends, when it comes to grapplers and wrestlers, she usually has a hard time with them. And Aaron Blanchfield is a very capable wrestler and grappler. Look what she did in Mariner Maverick. She dominated her wrestling. If she dominated Mariner Maverick, Molly McCann, I don't see it from her. I mean, Molly McCann, she's definitely looked impressive with her recent fights. Definitely, you see her spinning back fist knockouts and etc. But I just don't think she has the wrestling defense for Aaron Blanchfield. I think it's gonna be a bad night for her. I think she'll probably get like decision, like 30-27 decision by Aaron Blanchfield, and it's gonna be a good victory for Aaron considering she's from New Jersey and trains in New York, so it's a homecoming fight for her. Different than what Molly McCann's used to, considering she's been fighting from England for recent fights. But yeah, I like this fight for Aaron Blanchfield. That's just me. Is there anything else you want to comment about the prelims, Dan?
Renato Moicano versus Brad Riddell in the lightweight division. I think that's going to be a really good striking matchup. I think both of these guys need a bounce back victory. They're both going to be hungry. They're really good competitors, very skilled. Moicano more so, he has a better chin than Riddell, but I'm looking for both of these guys to really get after it, and this has the potential to sneakingly be fight of the night.
Yeah, you're right. Both guys need a bounce back victory. Totally agree with you there. This definitely could be a very entertaining fight. It could be fight of night. I'm still going with Chandler and Poirier. That's just me. By the way, this Saturday night, this Saturday night, the UFC 281 from Madison Square Garden, world's most famous arena. The early prelims start 6 p.m. The main prelims start 8 p.m. Pay-per-view at 10 p.m. all Eastern time zone. Can't wait for it. Can't wait. It's gonna be an exciting fight. Exciting pay-per-view. Exciting fight in the main event and exciting pay-per-view all together. I'm so looking forward to this. I can't wait. And can't wait to break them down next week. Talk about these great fights. Definitely excited. And anything else you want to say on this pay-per-view before we wrap it up?
No, as always, the UFC put together a great card, and hopefully we get more questions than answers with this. That always makes it a good card.
I agree, most definitely. And for me, a lot of these fights are going to be great. UFC did a great job here. They always do a good job for the Madison Square Garden pay-per-views. They always come through. And I can't wait for it. It's going to be exciting. Can't wait to talk about it next week, break it down. We are going to have more questions. I think we're going to have more answers than questions. And I think some of the questions will be answered. And I can't wait to see what happens. We a new middleweight champ. We a new strawweight champion. Who is Frank Edgar retire on top, or is he not? We'll find out this Saturday. Can't wait, and can't wait to talk with you guys. Like I said, thank you guys for watching, listening to us. Whether it be on YouTube or podcasting platforms like Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Reason FM, or watching us on Rumble. We appreciate the love, support. Thank you guys. Can't wait to talk about next week. I'm Austin and Chef Dan, and we'll see you next week. Peace.
Peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are